Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this first installment of a series of webinars hosted by Aging Analytics Agency, focusing on a discussion of the current state of healthy human longevity and the translation of developments in geroscience and the science of longevity into clinical practice. My name is Franco Cortez. I am the director of the Aging Analytics Agency, and I will be your host for today's event. We are joined today by Dr. Arkady Prokopov, integrative medicine physician and expert on the topic of hypoxia, hyperoxia, and their effects on mitochondrial aging and human longevity, as well as by Aging Analytics Agency founder Dmitry Kaminsky, who will be joining Dr. Prokopov to discuss some of the pros and cons of different approaches within the general paradigm of intermittent oxygen-associated stress. Aging Analytics Agency has, since its inception in 2013, remained committed to the study and analysis of longevity science, industry, and policy, with the primary goal of helping to close the gap between theory and practice, and safely accelerate the actual translation of advances in longevity science and biomedicine into real-world impact on practical, healthy human longevity. With this in mind, we became intrigued with recent headlines and media coverage, as well as some level of public controversy surrounding the results of a paper recently published in the journal Aging US, which documented the results of intermittent hyperbaric oxygen therapy in human patients who received treatment at Aviva, an Israeli clinic. The paper claimed to have demonstrated an increase in telomere length by an average of 20%, as well as clearance of senescent cells by around 35% in populations of circulating immune cells in the study participants. However, the results of this study have been met with criticisms from a large number of scientists that call into question whether or not the treatment actually resulted in an impact in human longevity. Some of these ranging from larger criticisms regarding manipulation of data and false results to more neutral criticisms regarding the ways in which the authors actually attempted to validate the results of their treatment. Specifically centering on the use of telomere extension as a component of that validation, given the fact that telomere extension could, in theory, have been the result of other mechanisms such as general physiological stress. However, the fact that the paper also demonstrated a reduction in the number of senescent cells in the circulating immune system gives us indication that, in our view, the treatment did actually have some impact in terms of human rejuvenation per se. Given Aging Analytics Agency's vested interest in the translation of longevity theory into practice, we decided to do some research surrounding the paper's claims in order to offer a more definitive position on the paper's results. With that in mind, we are joined today by our founder, Dmitry Kaminsky, a general partner of Deep Knowledge Group, as well as co-author of the recent book, Longevity Industry 1.0, Defining the Biggest and Most Complex Industry in Human History, who founded Aging Analytics Agency in 2013 precisely in order to establish a dedicated analytical agency equipped to answer questions very much like the topic of today's event. We're also joined today by Dr. Arkady Prokopov, an integrative medicine physician and CEO of Athletic High-Tech SL, with over 30 years experience in biogerontology, as well as the effects of intermittent hypoxia on mitochondrial aging and human longevity in particular. Dr. Prokopov also has a great deal of history in space tech and space medicine, having graduated from the Moscow Medical Academy in 1979, and from 1980 to 1991, working with the Moscow Institute of Biomedical Problems as a medical researcher and diving physician. His dissertation topic was the application of pharmacological agents and preconditioning interventions to increase performance and augment stress resistance in saturation divers. The main practical result of his work turned out to be useful not only for divers and cosmonauts, but also in preventive medicine in general and rehab medicine in particular. In 1994, Arkady moved to Germany and practiced general and integrative medicine there, using the knowledge and experience gained in his research in his everyday practice. From 2000 to 2005, he was working for a US company that manufactured equipment for simulated altitude training, and since 2008, he lives and works in Mallorca, Spain. Dr. Prokopov is also the author of a recent book, Undoing Lyme Disease, How to Make Your Mitochondria Fight Lyme Borreliosis by Surfing Oxygen Waves. Together, Dr. Prokopov and Dimitri will be discussing the pros and cons of the intervention that was the subject of that paper published in Aging US, and using it as a general frame to investigate, compare, and contrast various other approaches within the general paradigm of intermittent hypoxia and hyperoxia and intermittent oxygen-related stress. Together, they will be discussing a SWOT analysis of these different approaches within this general paradigm, as well as discussing key takeaways in terms of the pros and cons between them. Following this, Dr. Prokopov will be delivering a keynote lecture on the history and current state of this broad line of research, as well as giving a more thorough and technical overview of his interpretation of the validity of the Aviva Clinic paper.